Canberra now, in 11th hour negotiations for a free trade agreement with the European Union has collapsed, pushing back expectations of a deal being struck to after the next federal election. Our Sky News political reporter Joel Philp is following the story. And Joel, it seemed like EU officials were a bit surprised to see the federal government reject their offer.
It seems so, Ash. The Trade Minister, Don Farrell, is in Osaka, Japan for trade talks, and he was prepared to finalise this long-awaited deal that has been 5 years in the making. But overnight, he said EU negotiators didn't bring anything new to the table compared to the last agreement they attempted to strike 3 months ago, which the Trade Minister turned down. So he once again turned down this one, and it is said to come to the surprise of these EU officials who are hoping to finally strike a deal. Now, what this trade bloc of 445 million people wants is access to Australia's mining sector, things like critical minerals, rare earths, which are important to the net zero transition. What Australia wants is to be able to export commodities like beef, sheep, dairy and sugar, tariff and duty-free to Europe. On top of that, Australia also wants its agricultural producers to be able to retain naming rights for things like Prosecco and Feta, traditional artisan goods that came out of Europe. So at this stage, with negotiations stalled at this point in time, and the European parliamentary elections looming in 2024, it is not expected, the government says, a deal will be struck until after our next federal election. Here's the Agriculture Minister, Murray Watt, speaking about this.
And they've come back now with essentially the same offer with a couple of tweaks there. We've been utterly consistent throughout this process that we would only enter a free trade agreement with the EU if it was in Australia's national interest, and in particular if it offered new commercially meaningful access to the European market for Australian agriculture, and that hasn't happened.
We've had some response to these developments on Sky News today. I'm going to start off with Shadow Trade Minister Kevin Hogan, who supports the government playing hardball in this situation. He says that with what the EU brought to the table, they didn't deserve a deal.
We had something to offer them. They didn't step up, and again, I support the government for not doing the deal. This would have been a bad deal for our agricultural sector, which is not a good deal for Australia.
If you favour this trade deal, and particularly the strategic partnership with the European Union, this can only come as a disappointment. I suspect in the farming industry there'll be a lot of relief, and that tells you a bit about what was at stake.
And Ash, the Trade Minister, Don Farrell, has just briefed stakeholders that he brought with him to Osaka, Japan. That means representatives of the agriculture sector, for example. He's briefed them, explained to them the decision he has made, and they are fully supportive of it. It'll be interesting to see whether those critical mineral companies who could be impacted how they might feel about it as well.